Well, when I was a little boy sitting on my mama's knee.
Hello, welcome to Going Deeper. My name is Marcie Sclove, and we are in part 2 of my interview with Frances Crowe. We left off talking about media and how important and influential the film and different news programs can be in doing political work. And I just wanted to start back with that, Frances, and hear a little more, especially this whole segment of our interview. I want to talk about what's going on now since the election. And one of the things that has come up and that I've been hearing in the news is about alternative facts and different kinds of news agencies. So could you talk a little bit about, what you think about the news media and what should be happening?
Well, the corporate news media only cares about selling and their ratings. Mm-hmm. And so they're willing to support Trump when he's running, because the more outrageous his statements are, the higher their ratings are. Absolutely. And the more advertising they can get, the more they can charge for their advertising. Mm-hmm. So I think the corporate media elected him president. And now that he is president, he has all of this power, then, he can continue the outrageous stuff and acting on it. And I think it's hard, causing a lot of harm for a lot of people. I think in the issue of health care, that many older people, poor people, are not going to be covered by health insurance. Yeah. And the drug companies are going to go up on their cost of drugs. Yeah. The pharmaceutical companies will increase the costs. Wow. And, he also then can go ahead and do many things like his, seeking completion of the pipeline that's going through sacred land, held by the native people. And I just feel that we're in deep trouble because of irresponsible media. Yeah. And someone like Amy Goodman, who does the War Peace Report, 20 years she's been on the air 5 days a week. Gosh. Being responsible about what she says. Yeah. And letting the older, the poor, the less articulate be on the air, although they may not be the most beautiful or attractive flashy, people, but they're speaking in their own voice. Yeah. And that is so important.
Yes, it is. It certainly is.
But I think, the corporate media put Trump there. Yeah. And he still has their ear. Mm-hmm. And never mind the victim.
Yeah. Well, he's, having his little battles here and there with different media sources, CNN and such. But I agree with you. I remember hearing how outrageous he was as the story of the day and giving him all that free attention and free airtime. But here we are, we're in this predicament. Every day there's new things getting signed into law, or not really law, but things he's trying to promote. What do you want to say to us about where we're at now?
I think we're at a very, very dangerous part of our history. The most dangerous probably we've ever been.
Wow.
And whether or not the opposition in Congress will have the courage to stand up and do what is right, I don't know.
Yeah.
And I know Pocky Whelan, who is a very close friend, is in Washington now with Medea Benjamin, and they're trying very hard to get into these hearings and with their signs and their, speaking the truth to break up the hearings when they were approving various people appointed by Trump. And they went in one day dressed as if they were members of the Ku Klux Klan, and they had signs on their hands that they held up.
Wow.
And of course, once when Obama was there, when she was in to break up a hearing, he said, "Watch that woman. She knows what she's doing."
Pocky.
No, about Medea Benjamin.
Oh, Medea Benjamin.
That she knows, and that's right. She does know, but she's dragged out. Now, I haven't talked to them this week, whether or not they're able to get into anymore.
What were the signs? What
I
kinds
don't remember,
of signs?
but they were too small, but
I see.
they were
That's amazing. Yeah.
Talking about the racism. But I feel, that they may not be able to get in again, but they're trying to get in to disrupt the hearings.
Yeah.
And Pocky says they have to get there very early in the morning to talk to the people and get in and to speak their truth. But I feel, on this issue of the Standing Rock, where he talks about, he wants to finish the pipeline that will employ more people. And hogwash, I say, if they put the people to work making solar panels and help them put up solar panels on their land if they want them on the sacred land. But to go under the earth and disturb possibly a huge aquifer that is the water for many, many people is very wrong. And I feel that, he's treating the Native Americans as if they don't matter.
Right.
And I think that it's good that so many people are standing up and supporting them because it's very necessary. And they, when people from here went out thinking they were going to have nonviolence training, they don't need nonviolence training. They need to listen to the Native people who, are speaking in a spiritual path, and they're following their convictions, which are very important.
And their process has so much integrity and so much history embedded in the process itself.
Yes. So I support them in any way that I can. And
I worry for them too.
And this cold winter and all the snow they've had out there, it's not been easy for people to live there. But now I think, if Trump is saying shoot to kill,
Well, I've been told that it's kind of a war zone there already. Even before Trump, it was pretty militarized between the construction site and the protest site. And I do worry about shoot to kill.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, I think we're moving into a fascism
Yeah.
that is going to be very difficult to control.
So what were your memories of Hitler?
Well,
You know, you were
that
probably...
we didn't know a lot until
Yeah.
it was almost too late.
Yeah.
And I remember when I was in graduate school in New York, I met someone who got out of Nazi Germany. And as she was boiling an egg in the little pantry,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and I was ironing
Yeah.
a shirt or something,
Right.
she told me what was
Her
really
story.
going on. But we didn't know.
Yeah.
And I don't think we wanted to know
Yeah.
about what was really going on.
Yeah.
And I feel, you know, now if the media plays up Trump instead of talking about fascism,
Right.
and when, you know, they come for us, it may be too late.
Yeah.
And so I feel we have one another. And I spoke on
Yeah.
Sunday when we had a rally in Northampton, and 3,000 people,
The Women's March.
women's
Yeah,
march.
the Sister March.
And they had, you know, women, men, and children
Sure.
were there, and it was a wonderful event. And I was one of the women asked to speak. But I said, you know, we need to support one another. That's really all we have is one another. Mm-hmm. And we need to live locally, support the local stores, keep our money here.
Yeah.
Don't let them get a hold of it through the corporations. Spend it here, and it will be recycled into our economy. Mm-hmm. And I feel strongly that we need to do that.
That's really good. And there's so many local CSAs and farms and ways to, you know, really support
And grocery
locally.
stores, you know, I said shop at the local grocery stores.
Sure.
And if you buy things online from Amazon, you know, the profits don't come here.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so this is what we have to figure out, how we can support one another, help one another, because it will be very important.
There's another message that you're wearing on your T-shirt that I think is a very important one. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yes, I feel we have to resist in every way possible and do it with compassion. But, you know, we have to look at everything we do and say, how can we resist? How can we build community here? And I don't know whether we would ever come to a national strike, but if, you know, we could shut down a town for a day or an afternoon, and all the people get out and talk to one another, that would be very useful.
Well, this is an interesting topic for me because I've been giving a lot of thought about how polarized we are between the folks who voted for Trump and the folks who didn't. And Amherst is a pretty liberal, the whole valley is pretty liberal, and not, I mean, we do have little pockets that actually voted for Trump, but in a local way, you know, how can we do that resistance and be respectful of the people who think differently, and how to show compassion to understand their point of view?
Well, I think many people did feel the need for Trump, and I can understand that. You know, we've all been promised certain things after World War II, that everybody was going to have all of these goodies. And they didn't come to everybody because proportionally, too many of them went to Trump and his allies at the top. And they never noticed, the hungry locally and what was necessary here. So I can understand why. But, now that he's in power, he's not doing the things that he said he was going to do. And so if he wants to build that wall, all right, take it out of the military budget. Stop bombing Iraq, Pakistanis, Syrians. Let's welcome the Syrians into our community. Let's, we need them.
We need those refugees. We do.
And so I feel, this is take the money not from my taxes. I'm a tax resistor.
Oh, I wanted to ask you about that. So I remember years ago that Randy Keeler and his wife, they lost their home when they were tax resistors. How is it that you haven't lost your home?
I put everything in a trust for my children.
Okay.
So that I own nothing.
Wow.
And so, and it works very well. I haven't paid more taxes for 10 years.
And then do you...
I redirect that money.
Yeah.
I send it to the Iraqi Children's Hospital in Baghdad. This is the wonderful hospital that Dr. Mazen runs for the children. And I spend the money on helping others survive who need it to live.
Do you also direct some of that money locally, like in the U.S., for education and health and things like that?
For education, for my grandchildren, and so that they'd go to college without a debt.
Wow.
And so, and I write to IRS and tell them I file every year, and I write and tell them, this is what I'm doing with my money.
I see.
I feel that every person should be able to go through graduate school without costing it any money. And if we weren't fighting all these wars, there would be enough money for health care for everybody in this country, free, and for education through college. And, graduate school.
So, Frances, one of the phenomenon that I see, I've been very active in the League of Women Voters for the last year and a half especially. And what we see in the League is just that it's very difficult to get volunteers to have the time, to join the board and to be active in the voter registration and all the other activities that the League does. And in the 60s, for instance, these were the women that were homemakers but very intellectually alive and really needed the League as a place to, use their brain and to feel involved in the political world. And now it's very hard to get these kind of volunteers. Are you finding that there's been this shift in your work also?
Yes, because they went off to get jobs
Yeah.
at graduate school. And so there is a shift. But young people are picking it up. And so I feel, all of our shut-it-down affinity groups are older women. We've had our families, we've educated our kids. now is the time, I think, 65 and over.
To do that work.
To find the people I don't know who would be in the league, because it's that group that we really need to reach out to, because, you know, when you're young, you're getting an education,
Right.
and then you're getting yourself established with your family, and you're working very hard. But it's later in life that you have, supposedly have some time.
So maybe the answer is to target more people who are post 60, 65.
Yes, I think so.
That's interesting. Thank you.
Yes.
I'll take that back to the League of Women Voters of Amherst. That's very helpful. Now, we have about, I don't know, 5-8 minutes left. And I wanted to just ask you if there was something else you wanted to bring up, you know, either from your past or something you're working on now, some thoughts you'd like to share.
Well, I think it's important to listen to democracy now. It's not enough to have it on the air, but only if you listen, and you can get it on your computer any time of the day or night, and they have wonderful archives that you can search back and get them. But I think that is an extremely important thing.
Right, and also it's important these days to support financially these entities that we find helpful. You know, so if there is an opportunity to donate money to Democracy Now.
Was an event I went to last Sunday night, Marty Nathan's birthday party, where she's helping the immigrant population of Springfield. And that was a very good event. And I feel, you know, that's...
Was it a fundraiser?
Yes.
So that's a good way to do it, yeah.
These are, you know, I'm grateful for her that she is doing this kind of work.
Yeah, yeah.
And
no, you're right. Are there any other news resources that you particularly like?
well, I read
You read The Nation.
The Nation magazine, the Washington Spectator, which Ralph Nader put me on to, and keeps sending me.
Oh, funny.
And I feel, and the New Yorker has, you know, really good articles.
Yeah, good investigative.
And so that I read a lot, and mostly periodicals.
Yeah.
But I'm religiously addicted to Democracy Now.
Yes, yes. That's great. That's great. So I guess that trying to think if there's anything else I wanted to ask you.
Well, you know, another thing, I think, let's listen to people who object to what we're doing. Let's try to hear what they have to say and why they're objecting to what we're talking about.
Yeah.
And, you know, we will learn a lot of things. We may not change them, but I suspect we're both changed a little by talking to one another.
Right, and your idea of listening, you know, sometimes it's okay just to listen and not answer, not respond, but just to hear someone else's point of view. Meg Gage was on my show, just the interview before this, and we talked about Amherst town politics and how polarized things can get, that you're on one side with somebody, but if you disagree with them, then, you know, you all of a sudden aren't friends anymore, or just that sense of divide and polarization. And I think listening, what you're saying is very true.
And try to figure out, you know, we may have different ways of accomplishing what we want to accomplish, but to look at the goal that we're working for.
Yeah. And also to think that the motivation is that everybody wants to make it a better place, almost everybody.
But Trump is talking about, he may not be bombing the Syrians, but, the reason people come from Mexico is we flooded their market with our cheap corn so that they stopped growing the corn.
Wow.
And maybe this will, they'll be able to stay home. The people won't want to come here.
Interesting.
And work for our low-income jobs, that they'll stay home and build the kind of community that they had before.
Wow. See, there's something positive coming out of this.
I think so.
That's a great idea. Yeah. All right. Well, Frances, I can't thank you enough for coming here today and having this interview with me and sharing so much of your wisdom.
Marcie.
Yeah.
You're a very good interviewer.
Oh, gosh. Thank you.